Vatican, the heart of the Catholic Church, is entering a new chapter in its 2,000-year history. With the election of Pope Leo XIV, the Church finds itself at a critical crossroads, navigating a rapidly changing world while striving to remain anchored in eternal truths. But behind the solemn beauty of St. Peter's Basilica, beyond the white robes and global headlines, lies a deeply intricate network of power, a spiritual and political machine that guides over 1.3 billion Catholics around the world. And at the core of this machine are not just ideals or institutions, but people, real men of faith and strategy, entrusted with authority by the Vicar of Christ himself. So the question is, who truly holds power within the Vatican today? Who advises the Pope? Who shapes doctrine? Who manages the Church's global operations behind the scenes? In this video, we'll unveil the 5 most powerful leaders inside the Vatican under Pope Leo XIV, the men whose decisions may never make the news, but whose influence reaches every corner of the Catholic world. Get ready to step into the inner circle of the Holy See. The 5th most powerful figure, Archbishop Rino Fisichella, President of the Pontifical Council for the New Evangelization, the architect of mission, the guardian of the Church's voice in a modern world. In an era shaped by rapid technological change, media saturation, and deep spiritual confusion, the Catholic Church faces one of its most urgent questions. How can the gospel still reach the modern soul? And the man entrusted by the Vatican to help answer that question is Archbishop Rino Fisichella, President of the Pontifical Council for the New Evangelization. He may not be a household name. He doesn't dominate headlines or draw crowds with fiery speeches. But inside the walls of the Vatican, Fisichella is seen as the silent strategist, the man who is reimagining how the Church communicates with the world, especially with those who no longer go to Mass, who have lost faith, or who have never heard the name of Christ. The Pontifical Council for the New Evangelization is not just a missionary department. It is a strategic hub for digital outreach, pastoral renewal, and catechetical reform. Under Fisichella's leadership, it has pioneered initiatives that aim to bring Christ into the digital continent through social media, digital platforms, online catechesis, and more. From reshaping the meaning of the Holy Year to launching church-wide missions to re-engage the baptized but disconnected, his imprint is unmistakable. Under Pope Leo XIV, Fisichella's role has only grown more central. The Holy Father sees him not merely as a policy leader, but as a guardian of the Church's missionary identity in a secular age, a shepherd of the mission field that now includes the internet, secular universities, and the hearts of an indifferent generation. And that is why, even though he does not run the Vatican's diplomacy or doctrinal office, Archbishop Rino Fisichella is still counted among the 5 most powerful figures under Pope Leo XIV. He is the man keeping the Church's missionary breath alive, not by looking back in nostalgia, but by boldly stepping into the future with faith that the gospel still has power, if only we dare to proclaim it in a language the world can hear. The 4th most powerful figure, Cardinal Dominique Mamberti, the master of protocol, the voice of power, behind the curtain. On the night Pope Leo XIV was elected, a figure stepped out onto the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, facing the world with timeless words. Habemus Papam. That man was Cardinal Dominique Mamberti, the Cardinal Proto-Deacon, a role steeped in centuries of ritual, symbolism, and unspoken authority. But Cardinal Mamberti is far more than a ceremonial announcer. Within the Vatican's inner circle, he is known as the man who speaks when history changes, and one of the most seasoned diplomats and legal minds in the Catholic Church today. Born in Marrakesh, Morocco, and fluent in multiple languages, Mamberti's career spans decades of high-stakes diplomacy. He served as the Vatican Secretary for Relations with States, the equivalent of foreign minister, under both Pope Benedict XVI and Pope Francis. His knowledge of international law, religious freedom, and geopolitical strategy has made him a respected and sometimes feared presence in global negotiations. Now, under Pope Leo XIV, Mamberti holds the position of prefect of the Apostolic Signatura, the Church's highest judicial authority, akin to a Supreme Court. In this role, he oversees complex canonical cases that affect bishops, dioceses, and religious orders around the world. His judgments can alter ecclesiastical careers, dissolve or uphold doctrinal disputes, and even influence papal decisions behind closed doors. Why does this matter? Because in the intricate machinery of the Vatican, law is power, and Mamberti holds the keys to that power. His combination of canon law expertise, diplomatic mastery, and liturgical visibility places him in a rare category: those who understand both the spirit and the structure of the Church, and can shape both with a single signature. Moreover, he serves as an unspoken bridge between tradition and adaptation. As the Church navigates legal and ethical challenges in a post-Christian society, from religious liberty to internal governance, it is Mamberti who crafts the lines between what must never change and what must evolve. Pope Leo XIV is known for his pastoral heart and intellectual clarity, but he also relies on the stability of men like Cardinal Mamberti, men who know how to uphold the weight of history while helping the Church move forward cautiously and firmly. So while he may not be a public face of reform or a viral presence in the media, Cardinal Dominique Mamberti remains one of the most powerful and influential figures in the Vatican today. His quiet authority shapes the course of global Catholicism. One decision, one ruling, one whispered counsel at a time. The third most powerful figure, Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, the doctrinal guardian, the Pope's theological voice. If the Vatican were a fortress of faith, then the one who guards its gates of truth would be none other than Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, the prefect of the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith. In the Catholic world, there is perhaps no office more delicate or more dangerous than this one. Often referred to as the guardian of orthodoxy, Cardinal Fernandez oversees the Church's response to theological error, doctrinal development, and moral teachings. Under Pope Leo XIV, his influence has only grown, not just because of his title, but because of his personal history with the Pope himself. Before becoming cardinal, Fernandez was a close theological advisor and trusted collaborator to then Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio, now Pope Leo XIV. Their decades-long friendship forged in Argentina is no secret. Fernandez is considered the intellectual heart behind many of the Pope's most bold and controversial teachings on mercy, conscience, and pastoral care. But now elevated to one of the highest doctrinal posts in the Vatican, his mission is far broader and more perilous. The Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, DDF, formerly known as the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, has historically been the center of theological orthodoxy. It was once called the Holy Office, the same institution that once tried Galileo and defended the Church's teachings against heresy across centuries. Today, its tone has shifted, and under Fernandez, its voice is becoming more pastoral, less judicial, but no less powerful. In a world deeply divided on moral and spiritual issues, from sexuality and gender to bioethics, secularism, and interfaith dialogue, Fernandez is not merely deciding doctrine. He is shaping the soul of the global church. His writings and pronouncements are read and debated by bishops, theologians, and lay leaders worldwide. He has the authority to censure theologians, review papal documents, and intervene in theological debates that affect everything from liturgy to human dignity. But what makes Cardinal Fernandez especially powerful is this. He is not just defending doctrine, he is helping to define it. Unlike some of his predecessors who were more juridical or academic, Fernandez is deeply pastoral. He believes in a church that listens before it teaches, that welcomes before it judges. That vision is not without critics. Some fear it risks diluting timeless truths. Others praise it as the breath of the Holy Spirit for a wounded world. Regardless of where one stands, one thing is clear. Under Pope Leo XIV, Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez has become the voice of conscience for the institutional church, a voice that speaks softly but carries immense weight. He is the man who writes the lines future generations of Catholics will call doctrine. And in the architecture of Vatican power, that makes him not just a voice of the present, but a builder of the future. The second most powerful figure, Archbishop Paul Richard Gallagher, the Vatican's chief diplomat, the quiet power behind global Catholic strategy. In the realm of Vatican power, not all authority is exercised from pulpits or thrones. Some of the most influential decisions are made behind closed doors, at negotiation tables, in discreet conversations with heads of state, or through carefully worded communiques that carry the weight of Rome's moral voice. At the center of this global diplomacy stands Archbishop Paul Richard Gallagher, the Secretary for Relations with States, effectively the Vatican's foreign minister. British by birth and multilingual by training, Archbishop Gallagher has built a reputation as one of the Vatican's most seasoned and skilled diplomats. His demeanor is calm, composed, almost understated. But behind that quiet presence lies a man entrusted with guiding the Holy See's foreign policy, a role that has become more vital than ever in a fractured and polarized world. As Secretary for Relations with States, Gallagher is responsible for managing the Church's relationships with governments, international organizations, and even religious authorities outside the Catholic fold. From wars and refugee crises to issues of human rights, religious freedom, climate change, and global health, his desk is where the Catholic Church's moral teachings meet the realpolitik of world affairs. Under Pope Leo XIV, Gallagher's influence has continued to expand. His steady hand has earned him the trust of the new pontiff who, despite his pastoral heart, understands the necessity of a diplomatic backbone to navigate the turbulent waters of global politics. When the Pope speaks to the world, it is often Gallagher who helps shape the message, ensuring it is both faithful to Catholic teaching and attentive to geopolitical nuance. But Gallagher's power goes far beyond press statements or protocol visits. He is frequently the first to meet with heads of state when tensions arise. He oversees the Vatican's ambassadors, known as apostolic nuncios, stationed in more than 180 countries. In effect, he manages the Church's only functioning diplomatic corps, one of the oldest and most respected in the world. What makes Archbishop Gallagher uniquely powerful is his ability to combine moral clarity with strategic finesse. He knows when to speak boldly and when to remain silent. He knows how to challenge injustice without alienating partners. And he knows how to advance the Church's mission, not through coercion, but through patient presence and principled dialogue. Recent events have highlighted his role even more prominently. During the growing tensions between global superpowers, Gallagher has led behind-the-scenes efforts to mediate, calm, and promote peace. His meetings with U.S. leaders, European diplomats, and Middle Eastern officials are not mere formalities. They are often turning points in sensitive negotiations. But perhaps what defines Gallagher most is this: he embodies the Vatican's diplomatic genius, the ability to wield enormous influence without ever appearing to seek power. He does not seek the spotlight. He does not stir controversy. And yet, world leaders listen when he speaks, because they know he speaks not just for himself, but for the conscience of the Catholic Church. In a time when the Church's moral voice risks being drowned out by political noise, Archbishop Paul Gallagher is the man who ensures that voice still reaches the halls of power. The most powerful figure, the Secretary of State of the Holy See, the Pope's right hand, the gatekeeper of Vatican power. If the Pope is the heart of the Catholic Church, then the Secretary of State is its central nervous system, coordinating, communicating, and controlling the lifeblood of Vatican operations. In the modern era, no figure besides the Pope holds more institutional authority, more strategic insight, or more influence over the daily life of the Church than the Cardinal Secretary of State. As of the early reign of Pope Leo XIV, this office is in transition. Long held by Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the post may soon be handed to a new figure chosen by the current pontiff. But regardless of who holds the title, the office itself remains the most powerful position in the Roman Curia. The Secretary of State functions as the Vatican's Chief of Staff, Prime Minister, and Chief Diplomat, all in one. He oversees the internal governance of the Vatican, manages the Pope's schedule, advises him on every major decision, and coordinates with every other dicastery and department of the Church. He is the first to receive papal instructions and the last to review messages before they are sent to the world. Nothing significant happens in the Vatican without passing through his office. Under Pope Leo XIV, a pontiff known for his pastoral sensitivity and spiritual focus, the role of the Secretary of State becomes even more crucial. While the Pope inspires, prays, and preaches, the Secretary executes. He ensures that vision becomes structure, that words become policy, and that the global Church moves in unity. This is a position of immense, but often invisible power. He supervises the two main sections of the Secretariat: the section for General Affairs, which handles the Pope's daily correspondence, church administration, and internal Vatican management; the section for Relations with States, which functions like a foreign ministry, managing the Holy See's complex diplomatic relations with over 180 countries. It is through these channels that papal encyclicals are drafted, apostolic appointments are negotiated, and church-state conflicts are mediated. When a crisis erupts in a far-flung diocese, whether political, financial, or moral, it is often the Secretary of State who quietly resolves it before it ever reaches public awareness. But perhaps his most vital function is also the most delicate, advising the Pope himself. Every day, the Secretary meets with the Holy Father to review matters of global importance. And while the Pope has final authority, he relies heavily on the Secretary's political instincts, historical awareness, and deep knowledge of ecclesial affairs. In many cases, the Secretary's counsel shapes the decisions of the papacy itself. The Secretary of State must be many things at once: diplomat, theologian, administrator, confidant. He must know when to defend, when to intervene, and when to remain silent. His failures can paralyze the Curia. His competence can strengthen the Church's voice in the world. And that is why, under Pope Leo XIV or any pontificate, the Cardinal Secretary of State remains, and will likely always remain, the most powerful man in the Vatican after the Pope. He is not the face of the Church, he is its backbone. And in the corridors of power behind the white walls of the Apostolic Palace, it is his footsteps that echo the loudest, even when they are never heard. In the grand halls of the Vatican, true power often moves in silence, through counsel whispered, documents signed, and prayers lifted behind closed doors. These 5 men may not stand in the spotlight, but they shape the path of a church that guides over 1 billion souls. Under Pope Leo XIV, a new era is unfolding, one that calls for wisdom, courage, and deep spiritual vision. So the next time you see the white cassock on the balcony, remember, behind that voice stands a brotherhood of leadership, serving, advising, and carrying the weight of history with faith. This is the power of the Vatican, and now you've seen what lies beneath its surface.